Hi, everyone. Welcome to the PoliticAL update with me, Alexandra Acker-Lyons. I pay attention to the political news so you don't have to. This is the advice I give my millionaire clients, and you get it for free. It is Friday, February 20th. Hello from a very cold Colorado. Still no snow. Sorry for all of you who wanted to go skiing. Okay, the huge story of the week comes out of Texas. That primary for the U.S. Senate race is in just a couple of weeks. Early voting started this week, and turnout has been really high. But of course, the news was kind of dominated by James Tallarico attempting to go on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, and the FEC telling CBS that they were going to start enforcing something called the Fairness Doctrine, which means that you have to give equal time to candidates. This is something that Ronald Reagan eliminated in the 80s, and then kind of ever since the 2000s has not really been enforced. I mean, it's a problem that it hasn't been enforced, but then you get into all kinds of things like, do you have to have minor third-party candidates on the air, et cetera, et cetera. So anyway, Stephen Colbert interviewed James Tallarico anyway, posted the interview on his YouTube page, where it has gotten more than 5 million views, and Tallarico has raised upwards of $2.5 million in just the first couple of days after appearing on there. And there's just been, some nasty accusations going back and forth between Tallarico and Crockett's camps. Kind of to be expected in a primary where the polling is showing this race being very close, but it's not awesome. I really like both candidates, and I don't know which candidate is more electable in a general election. Lots of people seem to think that the moderate white guy would be more electable, but we've also tried that before and it hasn't worked. So let the voters pick, and we'll go from there. Also in Iowa, Nathan Sage dropped out of that Senate race. On the Democratic side, we may start to see some more consolidation around Josh Turek, who is the preferred candidate of the DSCC. But either way, this is another one of those 4 U.S. Senate races that we just have to put in play in order to take back the Senate: Texas, Iowa, Ohio, Alaska. Those are the 4 after the obvious ones of Maine and North Carolina. Juliana Stratton, who's running for the Senate in Illinois, that primary is in a couple of weeks as well. She has a new ad out that is great and funny, and has cursing. So she will probably get some attention off of that ad. I encourage you to go check it out. It's pretty funny. Make sure you watch it until the end. There are some surprise cameo appearances. Angela Brooks also came out and endorsed her, and this is I think just a real indication. Angela had the ultimate David versus Goliath race last cycle, where she was outspent 11-1. Stratton is facing kind of similar numbers on the hard side, being outspent, but she's a great candidate, my preferred candidate in that race, and that primary is in about a month, so we'll know more there soon. So in addition to Angela Brooks endorsing, we're starting to see more endorsements from both prominent politicians as well as organizations. Elizabeth Warren endorsed her protege Katie Porter in the California governor's race. She'd previously endorsed Peggy Flanagan in the Senate race in Minnesota. Justice Democrats and the bench both put out a bunch of different congressional endorsements. So as we're kind of heading into primary season, this becomes more and more important, and is something that I will be tracking in particular for House primaries. Also, Susan Collins endorsed the SAVE Act, which has been getting a lot of attention recently. It's a terrible voting bill that not only requires voter ID, it requires a passport or a birth certificate that matches your legal name. all kinds of problems around this. It actually will probably hurt Republican voters more than Democratic voters, but it's just terrible in general. So she became the 50th senator to endorse that. Nowhere near 60 votes. I'm not terribly worried about this actually passing. But like, what is she thinking? This seems insane to me. Maybe she is still worried about someone jumping in and primarying her from the right. But this kind of conversation around voting restrictions and fraud in our elections is just something that the Trump administration is going to keep hammering. It's frankly something that the right has been hammering for 20 years, but you are more likely to get struck by lightning than to see someone who has committed voter fraud. So anyway, Susan Collins, what are you doing? Other political news just a few minutes ago, the Supreme Court, in a decision authored by Chief Justice Roberts, struck down Trump's tariffs. We are not really sure what's going to happen next in terms of like, will we have to give refunds for the tariffs? What does this mean? Trump has said he's going to kind of pursue other ways of doing this. But on the one hand, good news for American consumers. On the other hand, same hand, good news for Democrats, because Trump continuing to talk about tariffs and raising prices on Americans is good for us. They are incredibly unpopular. Everyone knows this is all him and that he is the sole reason why we are facing this economic calamity where he is, in fact, raising prices rather than bringing them down. We had some redistricting news this week. My home state of Colorado is moving forward with a ballot measure to put on the ballot for 2026 in order to impact 2028. This is something that I think we'll see several states do, where you have to do a constitutional amendment or another kind of lengthy process like in New York, in anticipation of the Supreme Court striking down the Voting Rights Act and us having just a continued need to squeeze as many seats as we can out of blue states, not only this cycle, but next cycle. So yay, Colorado. We are optimistic that will pass here and that we will be able to not only shore up one very competitive seat here at Colorado 8, but also make 2 additional seats more competitive and likely flips. Also some news around Virginia's redistricting, where a local county judge said that they're not allowed to move forward. We expect this to be overturned by the state Supreme Court, as the other objection lawsuit filed a few weeks ago was also overturned. And then in New York, they are moving forward with redistricting one seat that is centered on Staten Island. That is a Republican seat. It will impact a couple of other seats. The litigation is not done on all of that, though. So still in the mid-decade ridiculous redistricting nonsense. Except that it actually looks like Democrats may gain seats coming out of this. So good job, Trumpers. It backfired. Okay, 2028 has begun. We saw some news come out of Munich that was just incredibly gendered coverage of AOC in particular, also Gretchen Whitmer. I didn't hear a peep about any of the speeches that the men gave. J.D. Vance did get kind of brought back into this conversation with his atrocious speech that he gave last year, and Marco Rubio seemed to like mollify our allies a little bit. But this is just something that I want us all to continue to be aware of this cycle and heading into 2028. There continues to be an incredible double standard for female candidates at every level of the ballot, but in particular at the presidential level. And so take all of this with a grain of salt. And then obviously this kind of FEC Colbert battle has some huge implications for 2028. We are already seeing candidates appear on late night talk shows and shows like The View. If they are not really allowed to do that anymore, it's just going to be even harder for these candidates to try to break through to a larger audience. Luckily, the FEC only really regulates broadcast networks. They don't regulate, podcasts and Twitter. Maybe they should regulate Twitter. But just another indication that the media environment keeps changing. And my shout out of the week, inexplicably, goes to the Wall Street Journal, who published an opinion story this week, editorial saying that billionaires not paying enough in taxes is hurting the American economy. Like, knock me over with a feather. This is really shocking coming out of the Wall Street Journal, and really good news. Maybe we can get them to endorse some tax reform that will not only help make our economy more fair, but also bring more money in to help pay off the debt, which they care about a lot, and help pay for some of the both ridiculous things like Trump's tax cuts, but also good things like social safety net programs. So you go, Wall Street Journal. Words I never thought I would mention ever. Thank you all. Have a good weekend. Bye.